Good evening, everyone. This is Pastor Pamela Parson, or Dr. Pamela Parson, Divinity. I just like to take the time out to apologize to everyone. On Wednesday night, we had some technical difficulties. Um, no one could hear the sound. It showed on my end that everything was working, and I started not to come on tonight. However, because I did not get StreamYard to find out what's going on, but we're going to try again tonight, and prayerfully, we will have some audio as well as our video recording. And we're going to revamp the anger management class tonight, and hopefully sometime over the weekend I can do Parsons Acts. Just a reminder, uh, I've been saying that this class is open to everyone, and because we are open up to everyone, I know in the past I said only for certain people who are um, in low income or moderate income, but now we're asking everyone that participates or listens, if you could be so kind to fill out this form that's sharing on the screen right now. And this is a self-certification, and this form is for us to continuously have fundings provided to us from the federal government. I know that some of you all have been expressing, I don't know who you are, but if you can fill this form out and email it back to me at pastorparson57 at gmail.com, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, it's not going to say that you are because of the information you put in, if they're going to do anything. No, we just need to have statistics to show who we serving, how we serving, and how many we're serving. So if you can help me out tonight, I would greatly appreciate it if you will fill this form out and send it back to me, Pastor Parson57 at gmail.com. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight, I'm sure it's going to benefit many of you, if not all of you. I know when I study or look over my notes from my preparation, I get something out of it. And I just appreciate the time and the provisions that have been made for me to serve you tonight. The first thing we're going to talk about is problem of anger and some operational definitions. Okay, in most general sense, anger is a feeling of or emotion, which we have learned before, that ranges from mild irritation to intense fury and rage. Anger is a natural response to those situations where we feel threatened. We believe harm will come to us, or we believe that another person has unnecessarily wronged us. We may also become angry when we feel another person, like a child or someone close to us, is being threatened or harmed. In addition, anger may result from frustration when our needs, desires, and goals are not being met. When we become angry, we may lose our patience. How many can relate to that? And act impulsively, aggressively, or violently. People often confuse anger with aggression. And aggression is behavior that is intended to cause harm to another person or damage property. This behavior can include verbal abuse. And I want to pause here a minute. A lot of times people don't think that they can do some harm verbally. But we are here to serve you notice tonight that how you talk to individuals, how you speak to others, it can be very abusive because of anger, threats, or violent acts. A lot of times when you're angry, you become physically abusive. You become violent, become doing violent acts. Excuse me. And anger, on the other hand, is an emotion and does not necessarily need to lead to aggression. Therefore, a person can become angry without acting aggressively. A term that is related to anger and aggression is hostility. Hostility refers to a complex set of attitudes and judgments that motivate aggressive behaviors. Whereas anger is an emotion and aggression is a behavior. Hostility is an attitude that involves disliking others and evaluating them negatively. You will find that participants will learn helpful strategies and techniques to manage anger, express anger in alternate ways, change hostile attitudes, and prevent aggressive acts such as verbal abuse and violence. We need to change our verbal abuse. Those of us who speak with anger, speak in a way that is not appropriate and it's just inviting a hostile situation. The next thing that I would like to speak on is, when does anger become a problem? Anger becomes a problem when it is felt too intensely, it's felt too frequently, or is expressed inappropriately. Feeling angry or anger too intensively or frequently places extreme physical strain on the body. I know that many can relate to that. When you find yourself getting upset, frustrated, anger, it tends to affect the body, rather with stress in the muscles or headache. It tends to affect us many ways in our physical being. During prolonged and frequent episodes of anger, certain divisions of our nervous system becomes highly activated. Consequently, blood pressure and heart rate increases and stay elevated for a long period of time. Yes, that is true, because when we get upset, everything, it affects the heart. The heart rate becomes more intense, and also the heart rate increases. And the blood pressure, if you were to take your blood pressure right then and there while you angry and while you are showing many different things because of your dislikes or because you got upset, it will show in your um, heart rate and your blood pressure. And I can even say blood sugar. So we got to stop and consider, if you want to be harmed in that kind of way. Do you want to become sick? Do you want to become debilitated because of your anger or your frustrations? This stress on the body may produce many different health problems, such as hypertension, heart disease, and diminished immune system efficiency. Thus, from a health standpoint, avoiding physical illness is a motivation for controlling your anger. And that's why we are here to encourage you to control the anger. Because if you can't control it, then it's going to be more harmful to you. All right, moving right along. Another compelling reason to control your anger, it concerns the negative consequences that result from expressing anger inappropriately. In the extreme, anger may lead to violence or physical aggression, which can result in numerous negative consequences, such as being arrested, jailed, being physically injured, being retaliated against, losing loved ones, being terminated from a substance abuse treatment or social service program, feeling guilty, shame, or regret. And even when anger does not lead to violence, the inappropriate expression of anger, such as verbal, we're going back to that again, abuse, or intimidating or threatening behavior. I've seen much of that. It's not a pretty sight, and neither is it good for my ears. I don't like to hear someone trying to intimidate or threatening anyone because of their anger. It's not good, and it has gone too far. Often results in a negative consequences. For example, it is likely that others will develop fear, resentment, and lack of trust toward those who subject them to angry outbursts, which may cause alienation from individuals. And I don't blame them. If I see somebody constantly alienating themselves from me, it has to be a reason, and I need to check myself and see, do I have anger issues? Not only do I have anger issues, how are they intimidating me? How are they doing anything that will harm me? And if I feel like I'm being harmed, I'm going to back up. I'm going to alienate myself from whoever's doing it. So if I was to do that, I would expect the same outcome. Okay. The alienation may be from family members, friends, or co-workers. Next, we're going to payoffs and consequences. The inappropriate expression of anger initially has many apparent payoffs. I'm going to give you some examples. One payoff is being able to manipulate and control others through aggressive and intimidating behavior. I have a lot of family and friends who try to intimidate or through control and try to manipulate. And I don't like that because I feel like I am a grown person who can speak up, and I am not someone who is stuck on stupid or parked in dumb, as the world says, but I am somebody that can speak for myself. And when I find that somebody is not receiving me, I back up because I don't want a confrontation. I don't want a negative result or outcome or consequences. I hope someone is gathering what I am saying at this moment because I see a lot every day, and it's not good. But I'm only here to encourage us to control our anger, control our frustrations, and to bring awareness of the payoffs and the consequences of not controlling the anger. Okay, and here's an example. Let's see, another payoff, okay, of the release of tension that occurs is when one loses his or her temper and acts aggressively. The individual may feel better after an angry outburst, but everyone else may feel worse. And that's my point here. You know, you might not be hurting yourself or you might not feel bad about it, but everybody else around you. And so that's when they may tend to cut you off. And you wondering why. It's because you don't care anything about the payoffs and the consequences, because you figure because you are grown that you can do whatever you want. But it's time to control your anger. In the long term, however, these initial payoffs lead to negative consequences. For this reason, they are called apparent payoffs because the long-term negative consequences far outweigh the short-term gains. And the example here that I would like to share with you is consider a father who persuades his children to comply with his demands by using an angry tone of voice and threatening gestures. These behaviors imply to the children that they will receive physical harm if they are not obedient. The immediate payoff for the father is that the children obey his commands. The long-term consequence, however, may be that the children learn to fear or dislike him and become emotionally detached from him. And as they grow older, they may avoid contact with him or refuse to see him altogether. And that is what we learned earlier. When we find our family separating, our friends separating from us, these are some of the examples and results. And next, I want to move on to the myths. The myths about anger. Okay, the first myth that I want to talk about is anger is inherited. One misconception or myth about anger is that the way we express anger is inherited and cannot be changed. Sometimes we may hear someone say, I inherited my anger from my father. That's just the way I am. Excuse, that's a poor excuse. I know that I've seen many things and did not like it, whether it be by my parents or siblings or friends or whatever. And it made me more determined not to be like them because it's not acceptable. This statement implies that the expression of anger is a fixed and unalterable set of behaviors. Evidence from research studies, however, indicate that people are not born with set specific ways of expressing anger. And also, these studies show that rather that because the expression of anger is learned behavior, more appropriate ways of expressing anger can also be learned. It is well established that much of people's behavior is learned by observing others, particularly influential people. And these people include our parents, our family members, and friends. If children observe parents expressing anger through aggressive acts, such as verbal abuse and violence, it is very likely that they will learn to express anger in similar ways. Fortunately, this behavior can be changed by learning new and appropriate ways of anger expression. It is not necessary to continue to express anger by aggressive and violent means. If you want to change, you can by controlling your behavior, controlling your emotions. Number two, anger automatically leads to aggression. A related myth involves the inconception that the only effective way to express anger is through aggression. It is commonly thought that anger is something that builds and escalates to the point of an aggressive outburst. As has been said, however, anger does not necessarily lead to aggression. In fact, effective anger management involves controlling the escalation of anger by learning, I'm sorry, uh, it is commonly thought that anger is something that builds and escalates to the point of an aggression outburst. As has been said, however, anger does not necessarily lead to aggression. In fact, effective anger management involves controlling the escalation of anger by learning assertiveness, skills, changing negative and hostile self talk, challenging irrational beliefs, and employing a variety of behavior strategies. These skills, techniques, and strategies will be discussed in a few minutes. The third myth is people must be aggressive to get what they want. Many people confuse assertiveness with aggression. The goal of aggression is to dominate, intimidate, harm, or injure another person to win at any cost. Conversely, the goal of assertiveness is to express feelings of anger in a way that is respectful of other people. I have an example here, and if you were upset because a friend was repeatedly late for meetings, and you could respond by shouting obscenities and name calling, this approach is an attack on the other person rather than an attempt to address the behavior that you find frustrating or anger provoking. Excuse me. An assertive way of handling this situation might be to say, when you are late for a meeting with me, I get pretty frustrated. I wish that you would be on time more often. This statement expresses your feelings of frustration and dissatisfaction and communicates how you would like the situation changed. This expression does not blame or threaten the other person and minimizes the chance of causing emotional harm. And the last myth I would like to uh, bring forth is that venting anger is always desirable. For many years, the popular belief among numerous mental health professionals and laymen was that the aggressive expression of anger, such as screaming or beating on pillows, was healthy and therapeutic. Research studies have found, however, that people who vent their anger aggressively simply get better at being angry. And in other words, venting anger is an aggressive manner, reinforce aggressive behaviors. I hope that is clear. So it's not good to vent your anger because venting your anger in aggressive manner reinforces aggressive behavior. And not only I'm moving forward. Anger as a habitual response. It's not only the expression of anger learned, but it can become a routine, familiar, and predictable response to a variety of situations. When anger is displayed frequently and aggressively, it can become a maladaptive habit because it results in negative consequences. Habits, by definition, are performed over and over again without thinking. People with anger management problems often resort to aggressive displays of anger to solve their problems without thinking about the negative consequences that they may suffer or the debilitating effects it may have on the people around them. Some may be in denial about their anger, and they may be in denial about having it controlled or managed. But I was thinking that how do you help those people when they're in denial? And I want to share this with you tonight that oftentimes when you're in denial, you cannot admit that you have issues. No matter how bad it gets, you feel like it's okay because Mama Sue did it, Uncle Jack did it. Anybody that has been an influence in your life, you feel as though because who I am, I can do it. I'm 3 times 7 plus, I can do it. All that may be true, but is it healthy? That's the question for tonight. Is it healthy? And I want to move forward in talking about breaking this habit, becoming aware of your anger. To break the anger habit, you must develop an awareness of the events, circumstances, and behaviors of others that trigger your anger. This awareness also involves understanding the negative consequences that result from anger. For example, you may be or in line at the supermarket and become impatient because of the lines are too long. And as your anger escalates, you may become involved in a heated exchange with the clerk or another customer. The store manager may respond by having a security officer remove you from the store. The negative consequences that result from this event are not getting the groceries that you wanted and the embarrassment and humiliation you suffer from being removed from the store. And I could take it a little bit further. What if something happened because of your anger, your hostility, your abusive behavior may cause you to go to jail because you hurt someone and it's all in the news? Think about the consequences. Think about the fine that you may have to pay. Is it worth it all? But we always was taught you need to think before you react. Think before you do something that you may feel embarrassed about or have other consequences that may happen to you that you wasn't thinking about or really didn't think that it would happen to you because you are who you are. Strategies for controlling your anger. In addition to becoming aware of anger, you need to develop strategies to effectively manage it. And these strategies can be used to stop the escalation of anger before you lose control and experience negative consequences. An effective set of strategies for controlling anger should include both immediate and preventive strategies. It is what, about 8:30, so we have about 15 minutes and we're moving right along before our time is up. The immediate strategies include taking a time out. And you're going to say, taking a time out, that's for kids. Sometimes adults act like kids in many ways. So we say deep breathing exercises and think about stopping. Preventive strategies include developing an exercise program and changing your irrational beliefs. These strategies we'll discuss in more later, but I just want to touch on these things. But as we move forward in this session, we will discuss it in more detail. Here's an example here. One example of an immediate anger management strategy worth exploring at this point is the timeout. The timeout can be used formally or informally. For now, we will only describe the informal use of a timeout. And this use involves leaving a situation if you feel your anger is escalating out of control. For example, you may be a passenger on a crowded bus and became angry because you perceive that people are deliberately bumping into you. In this situation, you can simply get off the bus and wait for a less crowded bus. The informal use of a timeout may also involve stopping yourself from engaging in a discussion or argument if you feel that you are becoming too angry. In these situations, it may be helpful to actually call a timeout or to give the timeout sign with your hands. This lets the other person know that you wish to immediately stop talking about the topic and are becoming frustrated, upset, or angry. I would like to say, you all that are hearing me, you could call a timeout if you feel that your anger is escalating out of control. You also are encouraged to leave the room for a short period of time, or right now, not leave the room, but well, it is like a room, a chat room or whatever. But if you feel like you're being upset, you can leave for a short period of time. And if you feel that you need to do so, it's okay. But however, you can come back to for the remainder of the session after you have calmed yourself down. Because sometimes when you hear something new and something that you've never heard before, I'm telling you right now, it's not easy sometimes of trying to making changes. Because change is good if you desire to change. And I want to change every day things that I know that's not healthy for me, things that are running my blood pressure up, things that are causing my nerves and muscles to be damaged because of past injuries, but it just caused them to hurt or act in a way that's very painful. So I tend to try to stay away from things that I know is going to anger me, frustrate me, uh, or make me act in a way that I shouldn't. Okay, anger meter. I'm going to bring this up on the screen and I'm going to share it with you. This anger management. One technique here is that is helpful in increasing the awareness of anger. And I'm going to show you how to learn to monitor your anger. A simple way to monitor anger is to use this meter that I have shared. A1 on the anger meter represents a complete lack of anger or a total state of calm, whereas a 10 represents a very angry. See, we go from the bottom up. This is very angry up here. It represents a very angry and explosive loss of control that leads to negative consequences. Points between 1 and 10 represents feelings of anger between these extremes. And the purpose of this meter is to monitor the escalation of anger as it moves up in that direction. As you see this arrow going up, as it moves in that direction, when the person encounters an anger-provoking event, he or she does not reach a 10 immediately, although it may sometimes feel that way. In reality, the individual's anger starts at a low number and rapidly moves up the scale. And there is always time, provided one has learned effective coping skills to stop anger from escalating to a 10. And one difficulty people have when learning to use this meter is misunderstanding the meaning of 10. A 10 is reserved for instances when an individual suffers or could suffer negative consequences. And the example here is when an individual assaults another person and is arrested by the police. A second point I would like to make is about the anger meter is that people may interpret the numbers on the scale differently, and these differences are acceptable. What may be a 5 for one person may be a 7 for someone else. It is much more important to personalize the anger meter and become comfortable and familiar with your readings of the numbers on the scale. For the group, however, a 10 is reserved for instances when someone loses control and suffers or could suffer negative consequences. It's 8:38. We got about 11 minutes, 12 minutes. I hope that someone has heard some information tonight that will cause you to say that I want to control my anger. I want to manage my anger. I want to change my behaviors because I have taken it too far, allowed it to go too far. I have been violent. I have been aggressive. I have shown rage. So if you fit in this shoe that I'm presenting tonight and you're going to wear it, you can change your behavior. Not only can you change your behavior, but you can think differently. And as it was presented tonight, take a time out. Think about what you're doing, or even before you do. And also, this scale, this meter, think about how that you start at a low point and it escalates. It doesn't have to escalate because you can take control of the situation. You don't have to do what Jack said, or Mama said, or Dad said, or did, but you can say, Puddingtang is going to do different. Puddingtang is going to be healthier because she's going to adapt to change. I don't know if there's any questions. I am going to open up right now for any questions or comments. You can come on and write out your question here, and I will try my best to answer your question. If you want to personally email me at pastorparson57@gmail, you can. And if you know of anyone who needs awareness brought to them, then we ask that you share this with someone so that they can learn how to control their anger and they can adapt to change and they can practice anger management. And I believe that that is all I have tonight to present. But once again, before I go off air, I would like to share with everyone that is coming on or may view this later. You don't always have to be live to get what you need, but I admonish you to listen over so that you can hear what you need in order for you to make the changes, because you might not have received it all this 45 minutes that we've been on, or 42 minutes so far, but you can share with others, because I know there's many that need the awareness, that need the education, that need to make some changes, that to need to use some strategies to become a better person, a healthier person. And I thank God that I see myself changing. Have I always been here? No. I might not have been in the shoes like others, but yes. But I found a better way. I found a healthier way. And because I saw so many around me doing it, I figured I could do it too. But no, it's not right. It's not healthy. And it will take you down the road that you don't need to go. So it's been a pleasure coming on. And like I said, I pray that the audio is working. And if it is, I may be back either tomorrow night with Parsons Acts or Sunday evening. So know that God loves you and I love you too. And I will see you the next time. Our scheduled anger management class is on Wednesdays at 7:30. But this just is a makeup class that, because of the audio issues, we brought it back tonight. So hopefully it is well with the audio. See you next Wednesday.